ผลกระทบที่เกิดจากการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพอากาศคือปัจจัยสำคัญที่ทำให้เราต้องเร่งเปลี่ยนผ่านการใช้พลังงานจากเชื้อเพลิงฟอสซิลมาเป็นพลังงานหมุนเวียนและนั่นคือจุดแรกของนิทรรศการที่ต้องการแสดงให้เห็นความท้าทายที่ประเทศไทยต้องเผชิญแต่สิ่งที่สำคัญคือเราต้องรู้ว่าในการเปลี่ยนผ่านพลังงานประเทศไทยอยู่ตรงจุดไหนของโลก
Thailand is on the 53 of the transition energy. It's not bad, isn't it?
Oh, it's not bad. And if you compare it also here, where Thailand is, and other countries are here, like China is on 78 or others. So this is an overall indicator, and it includes like all countries, but it's only focusing on emissions. So that, for instance, also explains that Germany is not among the top 10.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because, for instance, here France is high up because nuclear is counted as zero emission.
Okay.
So that puts France much higher. Now there's a big debate. We have decided to phase out nuclear for other reasons, not for climate reasons. But it's interesting. It's trying to measure like where do countries stand, and we're right in the middle of this transition. We might not feel it that much, but it's a process that has begun, and that's going to revolutionize all the way we generate energy. I look at Germany. This is the largest industrial country that said we take a policy choice to get out of carbon and to develop renewables. Now there is a policy switch in that because we used to have very big power stations, centralized. So power generation is something that's done by experts only. And now we have discovered, like with these, that is a completely different structure. If you look at wind turbines, they're all over the country, and they're very small, and you need a very different kind of energy grid. Also, you need a smart grid that stores energy. In the daytime, you generate it, in the nighttime, you need it. So it's a complete different process of how to generate it. And now it goes even down to individual balconies who have solar panels and to trade energy. So it's a revolution.
It's many forms of the
Absolutely.
So we walk and you will see the other forms.
จากข้อมูลในนิทรรศการระบุว่า99.95%ของยานพาหนะไทยเป็นเครื่องยนต์ใช้น้ำมันซึ่งเป็นที่มาของการปล่อยก๊าซเรือนกระจกและฝุ่นละออง PM 2.5 ยานยนต์ไฟฟ้าคือหนึ่งในคำตอบของการแก้ปัญหาแต่การเปลี่ยนผ่านก็ไม่ใช่เรื่องง่าย
A hotly debated topic, EV in Thailand, and it shows like you need to have the charging stations. Now some of the people say I would like to buy a car, but I'll only buy a car if I have a charging station. And the people who do the charging station say, oh, if there are not enough cars, I'm not going to build a charging station. It's a chicken and the egg question.
But how difficult in Germany to change the attitude of private sector? I mean, you have to have a lot of stakeholders, like the car maker, the energy sector, to change their mind to use the electric. How does Germany do it?
That's why we're in the middle of this transformation, and exactly what you say, like the car companies need to be on board because they're the ones who hold the technology and they're the ones who can do the supply side. If I don't have a reasonable EV to buy, I'm not going to get anywhere. And we're in discussions also about the different standards. It doesn't make sense if you have one plug for a BMW, one plug for a Volkswagen, one plug for a Mercedes. So we need to take people on board, but the government's role, I think, is very important. The government can say, from here to say like in 10 years, this is where we want to get, and we give the financial incentives, for instance, either a tax rebate for electric vehicles or purchasing rebate or others, they're different incentives. But car makers, they need stability, they need assurance that these are the rules, and they need time frames that they can say, okay, from here within 10 years, we can go step by step by step by step.
But in many countries, I mean, the government is under pressure from the car maker because it's a big industry. They cannot change right away. I mean, they have to take time to change from the fuel, the fossil fuel to the electric. Is there anything happen in Germany also that to put pressure on government and government cannot do?
Well, the pressure comes from different areas. The pressure comes from people who live in places where there's too many emissions.
Right.
So if you live in a place where you have very high NOx emissions, then you don't feel comfortable about it. Secondly, it comes from citizens who vote for political parties who promise them clean air and who promise them safer and better transport. The pressure comes from the young generation that says, look, what kind of planet are we getting? But how do you translate this pressure into something productive? It's always easy for us to say what we don't want, but then to change it from what we don't want into what we want, and how do we get there? And we need to do it together with industry. We need to nudge them, I think, as governance makers, but we need to have their views on board because it doesn't help us to destroy our own industry in that process.
Yeah, so it's really important for the political commitment to change. Right. Okay, shall we continue?
ปัจจุบันไทยมีการใช้พลังงานหมุนเวียนคิดเป็น10%ของพลังงานทั้งหมดแต่ไทยมีศักยภาพสูงในการเป็นแหล่งผลิตพลังงานสะอาดอย่างการใช้พลังงานจากแสงอาทิตย์
Solar, for instance, potential in Thailand is much higher than in Germany. Germany produces much more solar energy with less favorable conditions.
Right.
But it depends again on the pricing. We gave price subsidies in the beginning. One important thing is like if you produce renewables, can you sell it into the grid?
Right.
Or do you just do it for yourself? And once you sell it into the grid has to change. It's not easy for an electricity operator to have a grid that sometimes has a lot of energy inputs. So they have to have smart grids. So that's why I say it's an integrative approach.
Right.
But it would not be difficult for Thailand to change. If we can do it, Thailand can do it.
We hope so that we can do it.
Oh my God.
Who is this man?
Oh, this is scary to see yourself. I don't like to look at the mirror. So, what I was talking about there, sitting in the residence garden, was about hydrogen. And hydrogen has an enormous potential as an energy storage way that is emission-free.
Right.
So, I don't want to go into the technicalities, but Germany is betting a lot on hydrogen now as a hydrogen strategy. And we have model projects as well.
Right.
And the EU has a hydrogen valley idea. And the only model project in Southeast Asia you find in Thailand. It's in Chiang Mai. It's called Van Pisua.
Right.
So I was talking about this. And if you check it out, it shows what
So
you
you
can
think
do
that Thailand
with
has a potential to develop their hydrogen
Definitely.
power?
Definitely. I mean, it's of course it's best if you produce the hydrogen with energy that's renewable energy.
Right.
Because then you have a full cycle.
Right.
And it depends again, technology, price, technology of scale,
Right.
but things are happening there.
Okay.
And German companies based in Thailand also are active here, are part of that transition. And I think it's important that we do this together.
Right. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Great.
นิทรรศการครั้งนี้แบ่งเป็น2ส่วนคือส่วนที่นำเสนอเกี่ยวกับข้อมูลของไทยกับส่วนที่เป็นนิทรรศการสัญจรที่นำมาจากเยอรมนีซึ่งจะมีทั้งจอสัมผัสแบบอินเตอร์แอคทีฟให้เราได้เข้าใจการเปลี่ยนผ่านพลังงานเชิงลึกในหลายมิติทั้งการเมืองเศรษฐกิจและสังคมและนี่คือส่วนจัดแสดงจากเยอรมนี
Why Thailand? Why you choose Shanghai, Thailand, Vietnam? Because
Germany is Thailand's largest partner for international climate change initiatives. We have invested a lot, until now almost 2 billion Thai baht into projects together to show actually how things can work and to exchange ideas and to create some model projects also how you can use, for instance, renewable energy in very remote areas where it might be cheaper than building a whole power cable. And Thailand has been a long-standing partner of Germany, and we're very happy with our cooperation.
the Playful exhibition is not just in Bangkok. You're going to go to Khon Kaen after that. Why
Yes.
Khon Kaen?
Because we have a university there, a technical university that we've been cooperating for a very long time for vocational training and others. And we personally feel it's good to go out of Bangkok also because Bangkok is very important, but Thailand is more than just Bangkok.
Right. Right. So you go Bangkok and Khon Kaen.
Yes.
And the traveling exhibition, what is a highlight? What is a unique? What is a talking point of this exhibition?
I think the main point is that if people are willing to, they can get a lot of inspiration. Either a little quick inspiration or if they're willing to spend more time to really go deeper into the details how the things are interconnected. And that's what we try to visualize in some of the the boards here. I mean, you might be surprised to see the Paris Eiffel Tower on a
Right.
German exhibition, but it symbolizes the Paris Accord, which is the founding document for global climate change commitments, because no country can do it alone. It doesn't help if Thailand is super good in reducing CO2 and the neighboring countries blast CO2 into the air as if nothing has ever happened. So it tries to visualize the complexity, but also how deep the challenge goes. For instance, from policy making, you see here it starts in the UN, a global idea, how it translates into national decision making. Nations have their own climate change goals and emission goals. And it tries to visualize also how it affects production capacities, if we
Right.
change production the whole way. And energy is so important because energy stands at the beginning of all production processes. You need energy for everything. Cut your electricity and you will see how miserable your life is. And it goes on to like testimonials of people
Right, this one.
who will say then, what does climate change for me mean? And testimonials from people from very different countries, continents, experiences, because we have felt that it cannot be decided from top down.
Right.
People have to see it as theirs. Economists play an important role because the prices have to be right. Policymakers have to play an important role because the direction must be right.
Right.
Science plays an important role because the technology must be right. And businesses play an important role because the offer should be there and it must be profitable. But at the end of the day, it's all about us, about humans, about our choices.
What do you want the people that come to exhibition to take in after they see the exhibition? What is your main message?
I think the least would be that everybody who comes in to this exhibition goes out and says, at least there's one thing in my life that I can do to change to my lifestyle to reduce my carbon footprint.